Last Saturday, the NDC held what they called their first ever national convention in Abuja. And the convention was big and it was massive, but they make very important decision, and the decision got everybody talking all over Nigeria because that meeting they made the decision that shook the entire country. And the decision was that the NDC they officially announced that their presidential candidate for the 2027 election will come from southern Nigeria. And that's it. That's the decision that gets everybody talking right now in Nigeria. Because the moment the NDC announced that, everyone immediately knew who they were talking about, and no other person but Peter Obi. He was the man who came third in the 2023 presidential election and nearly broke the two-party system in this country. And this same man whose supporters, the obedient, were so loud online in 2023 that the whole world noticed. That is Peter Obi. And Peter Obi is now in the NDC, and the party just cleared the path directly for him to be their presidential candidate. Straightforward. But wait, the story doesn't end with Peter Obi. Yes, the story doesn't end with Peter Obi because we have some key players in this game. I mean, the who is who. Yes. So let me introduce the who is who in this game for you. And I can say they are the main character of this story. The very first person is the person I've been talking about, Peter Obi. We all know him. He was the former Anambra State governor. He ran for the 2023 Labour Party. Under Labour Party, he lost. We all know that. He joined the ADC. He left the ADC. Now he's in NDC. Some people say he keeps switching parties because he can't win. His supporter says, he's looking for the right platform. So, but either ways, it's the man of the moment right now. Either you like it or not, either you agree or not, it's the man at the moment right now. And another key players I want to highlight is Obi-Kwankwaso, the former governor of Kano State, another Nigerian big political voice. He also ran for presidency in 2023. He also lost. And he himself just joined the NDC alongside Peter Obi. And at that convention, he stood up in front of everyone and said, I support zoning the presidency to the south. Wow. Now, when you think about that for a second, like a northern politician standing in front of a crowd and saying that give the presidency to the south, that is not a small thing. And I will explain why I said so. And before then, the third person is former Bayelsa State Governor Sheriake Dixon. Is the national leader of the NDC. Is a quiet person, is strategic, is powerful, and is the man who received Peter Obi and Obi-Kwankwaso into the party. Think of him as the one who set the table of all of this. And the fourth person is Victor Hume, the senator from Anambra State, one of Peter Obi's biggest allies, and he moved the motion at the convention to ratify the party's leadership structure. A very smooth operator behind the scene. That's Victor Uma, you see? And then there is the opposition of all this, the All Progressive Congress, the APC, the ruling party, the party of our dear President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the chairman, Yo Watada, I've forgotten the name now. He came out and publicly said, we are not worried about NDC. They are fishing from the same pond. Wow, that's huge. They are fishing from the same pond. I don't want to analyze that statement now. Let me continue with my own analysis. Okay. Let's go. So, or let me quickly address that statement because when a powerful ruling party publicly says we are not worried, in my own experience, that usually means they are at least a little bit worried. They are just playing a mind game, just like in football. So, and we need to know what is really going on, okay? Because this is the part most news channels won't tell you. Yes, they won't tell you. Because why you wonder that? Why did all of this happen and what's the real game that is going underneath? In my own opinion, let me explain it simply. First, the Peter will be locked in. You see, the NDC didn't just zone the ticket to the south by accident. They did it specifically to give Peter Obi a clear, uncontested path to the presidential ticket, like I formally said. And here is the smart part. Obi had already been, he had already been promising to serve just one single 4-year term if he wins in 2027. And the NDC just made that promise official, official party policy. And why does that even matter? Because it tells the North, guys, relax. It's just it's just 4 years. Then it comes to, and then it comes back to you. That's a powerful message, and it also takes away one of the biggest reasons northern politicians would resist an Obi presidency. Yes, and the second thing is Kwankwaso's calculated move. Yes, Kwankwaso's calculated move, because now you might be wondering, why would a northern politician giving the presidency to a southerner? It doesn't add up. It's quite simple because Akwanso didn't give anything away for free. Yes, because in exchange for endorsing a southern ticket, Akwanso is almost, certainly positioned himself to be Peter Obi's running mate as the vice president of Nigeria, which means if Peter Obi wins, Kwakwanso is in Aso Rock with Peter Obi and in 2031. And the NDC had already written into their agreement that the presidency returns to the north after 4 years. So Kwakwanso gets power now, and in 2031 it gets power. So that's not a sacrifice to me. That's a very strong deal. Yeah, it's a very strong deal. And then one will ask that what now happens to the ADC and their coalitions? Because a few months ago there was a different coalition called the ADC, the African Democratic Congress, right? And the ADC was supposed to be the biggest opposition alliance to challenge Tinubu, but that alliance collapsed from inside because the former vice president of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, was also in that party, and sources say he refused to step aside for Southern candidates. And one lawmaker who left the ADC said Atiku told everyone the coalition was formed in his own house and nobody can tell him anything. That's a big statement. So whether or not that's completely accurate, we don't know. At the point is that the party cracked and Obi and Kwakwaso walked out straight into the NDC. That's it. And the NDC didn't just build itself up. It benefited from the ADC's collapse. And some people believe the collapse was partly engineered to happen because some people had already seen it that this coalition is likely not to happen. But in all of this, how does this coalition left and right affect we as Nigerians? How does all this coalition, how does it matter to ordinary Nigerians? I love to talk about it because let's look like this way. Let me bring this home for you now because you might be thinking, why should I care about which politicians join which party? I don't care. You need to care, and this is the reason why you have to care because Nigeria has basically been ruled by by two parties since 1999. The PDP ruled for 16 years and the APC from 2015 till now. So every time an opposition tried to rise up and offer something different, the system crushed it or it collapsed from within. Now, let me refresh your memory. In 2023, Peter Obi came close. It came so close, closer than anyone expected. He didn't win, but he cracked something open. He showed that millions of Nigerians, especially the young people, were willing to vote for something different. They were willing for change. They want that difference. So now imagine this. What if in 2027, that same energy, those same millions of young Nigerians now have a party with actual structure, with with northern backing, with a legislative presence in the National Assembly. That's gonna be a kind of a different threat to the ruling party, and that is what most Nigerians want. And here's the bigger picture I want you to hold in your mind because at the NDC convention, Peter Obi, Obi-Kwankwaso, and Dixon, they all said the same thing. Nigerian democracy must not become one party state. That was their exact statement. So don't play that game of I'm not concerned about this party. I don't give a damn about who is in this part. No, it concerns you because you are a Nigerian, and any policy any party in power makes affects you directly. So, whether you support Peter Obi or you do not support Peter Obi, that statement should matter to every Nigerian because when one party controls everything, the presidency, the legislature, the courts, the institutions, man, ordinary Nigerians, ordinary citizens lose their voice. Competition is what keeps leaders accountable. I've always said it. Without it, nobody has to answer you. They have no obligation to answer you and I. So, what happens next? What are the possible scenarios that we can watch for? You know, let me be honest with you about what could go wrong because I don't do one-sided commentary on this channel. So I have like maybe three scenarios to examine, and I'll start with the first one. If NDC keeps, they keep growing, if more politicians defect into the NDC, if Obi runs a clean campaign, if the obedient movement wakes back up, and if Kwankwaso delivers Kano and the Northwest, this could be a genuine, two-horse race in 2027. I'm telling you, APC would be seriously challenged. They know it. And the second scenario I want us to look is the single term trap. And here is the thought that that keeps me up at night about this. A president who has already agreed to serve only one term before he even gets elected. He starts governing as a lame duck from day one because every political allies they know you only have 4 years, so nobody invests in you long term. Because they know your power is limited, and that could make a presidency weaker. Yes, it will make Peter Obi's presidency looks weaker on paper. My own opinion, do. And remember, the ADC still exists, and Atiku is still him. Rotimi Amechi is still him. So if 2027 becomes APC versus NDC versus ADC, the opposition vote split again, and that's exactly what happened in 2023. You see, a split opposition is Tinubu's best friend. I'm not sorry to say, because even if it's Peter Obi that is the president now, a split opposition will definitely be his best friend. And that's one thing I want to know. And another scenario I want us to also examine is that the system itself. I have to say this clearly. Nigeria has a history of elections where the most popular candidate doesn't always win. You see, INEC security agencies, court cases, vote buying, and intimidations at polling units. These things I just mentioned, they are so real, and the NDC's biggest challenge might not be APC's campaign. It might be the machinery of state itself. Yes, it might be the machinery of state itself, and that's one thing I want us to know right now. And let me tell you what I think personally. Yes, but my own personal opinion. I think the ADC convention was one of the most strategically intelligent move the Nigerian opposition has made in years. And zoning the ticket, locking in the the north south, the bringing Kwakwanso on board, rectifying their leadership in in one clean, uncontested motion. These are the moves of people who are thinking seriously, not just people that are making noise. And I love that about this NDC development. It's very key. But I've also watched Nigerian politics long enough to know that the distance between a good plan and a good result is enormous. So you need a very good plan to get into Aso Rock. And Peter Obi has a party, he has a plan, he has a northern godfather, and he has millions of Nigerians who actually genuinely believed in him and his ideology. So, what it doesn't have yet is just a win. And in 2027, the only thing that will matter is what happens when ordinary Nigerians stand in line and they hold that ballot paper and make a choice. And that moment belongs to nobody but the people of Nigeria. So, my friends that you are watching me right now, do you think the NDC can actually pull this off? If you think that, drop your comment in the comment section. Let's interact. And if this video has give you clarity, has helped you, kindly like, share, and subscribe, because you see, this is not just politics. This is Nigerian future. This is our future. And I want us to educate ourselves much more better. And till I see you next time, keep